What is your guilty pleasure or your soul food that you get that you know is like terrible?
I think literally soul food. Yeah, I brought you food from there. Jackie's place. You know, hit up like a bottle shop and start and crack up my first beer at like 2 o'clock and then really regret it by like 7.
Hot Cheetos, Oreos, beer, and then order a pizza and just kick back and do nothing and like watch movies.
All that at once?
It's almost like a Homer Simpson where you're just all.
Ooh, you're like, do the cheddar jalapeno Cheetos or the flamin' hot Cheetos or the flamin' hot Cheetos with lime go better?
No, lime is garbage, but I love the regular hot Cheetos.
I could eat a whole family bag of salt and vinegar chips. If you bring those into this house and they're there, they will be gone by the end of the night.
It's like watching an anaconda eat an entire goat. It's like a little horrifying, but it's also beautiful. Like it's just, you're like marveling at what nature can do as he just houses a family-sized bag in one fucking bite. This anaconda don't want none unless it's got salt and vinegar, son.
Well, I love me a good corn dog. I don't know. I think it's so great in its like recycling of meat product into this shape with bun and or batter and then some mustard, no ketchup. You put ketchup on a hot dog or a burger. I question your sanity for the purpose of the edit. I'm gonna say, my guilty pleasure is eggs. And speaking of eggs, welcome to the Real Stupid Review Show. I am Gerardo here with Cody, Izzy, and Nicholas. It's his mandate for the wonderful movie, very comedic, as you can tell from the title, Funny Games.
Sure.
Got some great cosplay going on over there.
This is like
you need the locks
stuff around the house, real talk.
Circa April of last year, going to the grocery store attire.
Yeah, this movie like made me so angry that I ended up just leaving it and just being very pissed at it. And I called my brother after watching it, and I was like, "Listen, why the fuck did you recommend this? Like, it was really bad." And I was like, and he was like, "Well, it's this, that, and the other thing, and you got to think about this, and you got to think about this." And I was like, "God damn it, that actually makes me like the movie." Okay, all right, I understand. I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna let it get and go. I'm gonna let that fester. I kind of think of it like Chekhov's gun. Like, there's always like purpose behind everything in a film. It has to be able to like have some kind of payoff at some point. This movie, I feel like, consistently makes false promises while you're going into it. This is kind of like the end all to be all for home invasion films. It's like the most depraved, violent film without the use of gallons of gore and in good reason. It doesn't follow rules. And that's part of what makes it like so beautiful as well as like horrifying. It got a huge reaction out of me. And I think anybody who watches it, either positive or negative, they're going to get a really nice reaction out of it. And yeah, fucking check it out.
It's clearly a meticulously scripted movie. You can tell that every beat, every moment, every bit of dialogue, at least for the most part, means something and has something to say. Yet I still feel like the core premise is under-delivered. This idea of trying to condone violence in American movies and like wake people up to them ignoring it and everything is definitely undercut by the director falling victim to his own ideas and falling victim to the tropes that he's trying to criticize and just making a super violent American home invasion movie. Michael Pitt and Brady Corbett both do quite a good job. Naomi Watts is good. Tim Roth is abysmal in this movie. This is the worst I've seen Tim Roth ever, and he's generally someone I consider a very competent actor. I love the fourth wall breaking moments and the really imposing figure, especially early on. That building of suspense was done so well. I felt like we were just left to sit in it for so long. I feel like this is a movie by an overindulgent director who loves his own idea so much, and it is not a bad idea, but he loves it so much that he was absorbed by it.
Your reaction to the movie is the reflection of your relationship to violence. It was one of the most genuinely uncomfortable things I ever had to sit through. I fucking hated having to sit through it. I did not feel good. I felt sick. Since the movie is almost more of a test, like a social experiment, I think it did a really good job at that. Because in cases like this, he was incredibly happy when people fucking spited this movie and hated it and walked away from it. Not because he wanted to get a negative reaction, but because those people that left from it, they're not tainted and they're not used to this kind of stuff. I know he has a psychology background. That's what he studied. And he's very fascinated with like how all of this stuff is like normalized. And I think the two main characters in this movie are reflections of us and how, in a way, we normalize things that are bad as long as there are rules that we attach to them. And watching that being deconstructed and completely fucking smashed and like picking it apart and then realizing my own like small reactions to everything that's happening the first and the second time is very fucking bizarre. I've never had anything like do that, because again, it's not condoning violence. It's just supposed to show you like how you feel about it and what you're used to.
This definitely was a unique take on the home invasion genre. Maybe to its own detriment, it did lend itself to more of a real true crime scenario where in those situations there is no great escape. There unfortunately things just kind of happen and unravel, and you're at the hand of the assailant who is just going to do what he's going to do. I had a problem rooting for our leads as far as their willingness to live. At some point, Naomi Watts' character just says, "Why don't you just kill us already?" And at that point, I was already kind of out. I was like, yeah, just fucking let's wrap it up. Which, this being kind of a study, maybe that speaks more to me as far as like, how I consume gore and violence. I was already desensitized from the last Nick Mandate, from Martyrs. That's like some Chernobyl hot sauce, fucking ghost peppers that burned my asshole. This is like 3 jalapenos where it's like, yeah, it was there, but I've already had the hot shit, like this is still interesting. I'm glad I saw it, but I don't think it'll stick with me.
The fact that it doesn't show anything shows that it's not a movie made for blood and violence. It's designed to give you violence, but it's more of like your interpretation of violence. Some people like horror movies because all the kills are amazing. The kills are good. It's a bad movie. That's okay. The kills are cool. That's what I go to see it for. He's challenging you. Are you watching this for survival, or are you enjoying the actual ride of this experience? It's not going well. And a lot of this came from the movie Natural Born Killers. It's just obsessively gory. And he saw that and he's like, well, I can probably make a movie to make people realize how ridiculous. You don't need to do that.
Like the idea, as you said, like you have everything taken away from you. You're given everything right there. Automatically, the regular moviegoer, as soon as they see a knife in the boat, they're all, okay, that's going to come into play later. Cool, that's how it's going to happen. And you're trying to create a movie that you want, or a movie that you're imagining, because you're used to this. You're used to this kind of movie, so you're going to fill in the gaps yourself, right? And the whole movie is filling in those gaps.
This movie goes to such lengths to set up scenarios and then intentionally throw them out the window. And I've been trying for this entire conversation to realize the moment when I gave up on that and decided that there was no suspense. With the dog, they play that 100% by the horror B-movie book, but then through so much of the rest of the movie. Now, it might be that it changes away from utilizing tropes into subverting and throwing away tropes later on in the movie, and that could be intentional, or that could be just a pitfall. It becomes so cheap by the end and abandons everything just to be like, violence in movies is it's kind of like real violence,
I do agree with everything you're saying. Like, there's so many reasons not to want to watch it, not like it, but there's also so many fun things in it that just kept me relating things back to it. The flaws in it, are very out in the open. And I think that they're celebrated more than they're actually critiqued. If anybody actually watched the damn movie, it's really low rated movie, but that's because people are so passionate about being like, no, that movie's just not good.
I feel like characters like Paul and Peter are easy to play relative to characters like George and Anne.
They were almost out of the movie the whole time in a really weird way, because they weren't talking to like the main character. They were talking to us,
I feel like specifically Peter and Paul are like, they seem easy, and like for that to elevate them, the movie, it almost makes it feel like even cheaper. Yes.
Would you say that they kind of rob Peter to pay Paul in the film?
I loved that. I don't know what that like. I was looking for a Rob Peter to pay Paul theme the entire time, and I couldn't figure it out. But I loved it.
Time to reel it in. The segment of the show we give the final consensus on the movie named by Izzy, but we don't care about Izzy. We care about Nick. So, Mr. Nick, could you please give us the final consensus on the movie? Good sir.
One must never place a loaded rifle on the stage if it's not going to go off. I think it's very daring. I think it's different for my genres. I think that it is definitely something to be seen. So for me, and the reaction it got out of me and the kind of like mind F it did to me, 5 out of 5.
This movie is the horror satire equivalent of you going to a magic show in Vegas, and 30 minutes into the hour-long magic show, the magician goes and explains every illusion that he's been doing, but then still does the last 30 minutes. It starts off so strong, but like as soon as you catch on to its shit, you realize it's just there to manipulate you. It's just this, it's just that, it's a social experiment, it's a test, it's a this, it's a that. I could make whatever fucking garbage I want to make and then be like, yeah, well, it's a test, and if you like it, then you fail this test, and if you don't like it, then you pass this test. This dude made some like over the top smelling his own farts bullshit, and then came up with a whole excuse as to why if you do like it, it's your fault, and if you don't like it, it's because I'm a genius, and if you don't like it, that makes it good. Get the fuck out of here. 2 out of 5.
I'm going to add on to that. I mean, I don't know how much a going rate is for a magician, but just to have somebody come into my house and perform tricks for an hour, I'll be honest with you, I don't give a fuck what he says during that hour. I'm getting my money's worth. Okay? I don't know how much you pay for magicians, but I ain't made of money. He's going to fucking stay there the whole hour.
I value the importance of what like things like this can potentially like do, and how it can be an eye-opening experience for a lot of people, regardless if I need it or not. Rating this specifically as a movie, I don't like it as a movie, but rating this is like kind of like the reason I would go to like a museum or like, as I said, like an experiment to like see what people can like feel. If it elicits a negative response, it's doing its job. After seeing the type of people that like finally just have like some type of experience, you know, it's kind of like when we go, I'm not going to get into Christopher Nolan, but you know, like
he's the enemy of the show now. He's our enemy of the show.
He's it's just like, I'm just saying, everyone that hates on Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan used to like watching his movies and get excited with a new trailer by him drop. Some people needed those stepping stones, and I think this is like one of those stepping stones for like this specific topic.
Well, you know what?
Well
I love you, Christopher Nolan. Please don't send your Hollywood assassins after us and film it on an IMAX camera.
I would love to hang out with Christopher Nolan.
I honestly think it would be a bad hang. I don't know if I would like Christopher Nolan as a person.
I feel like he's probably a pretty cool dude. I think he's probably cool. He wouldn't like me. I wouldn't have a one single. I just find his movies decent.
It's fine. It's for the YouTube tags. We need it in there. I'm gonna put Nolan gets attacked. Nolan diss rap. I'm gonna take my hat off.
Does Christopher Nolan suck?
Yeah.
Nolan overrated?
That's all our videos now. I think that this is the same movie experience as shopping at IKEA. On the outside, it looks like a regular store. It's like, oh, I'm kind of in this weird maze path. Oh, I can't really go anywhere. I have to go through this long, convoluted, looking at all the different product. And then at some point, someone kills your dog with a golf club, and you never shop at IKEA again. They didn't show the violence, nor did they show the eggs cracking. So what does that mean? We never see the eggs actually break. Is that deeper? Does that mean something? Anyway, I give this 3 eggs out of 5. It's time for Cody's Bits of Recommendation.
Have you ever had a souffle? Because I haven't, and I kind of want one.
You gotta get a lot of hair gel.
What recommendations do you have for the good people? What do we watch? What do we listen to? What do we do?
I want to shout out Gay Pride with Horror. I want to first off thank Don Mancini with Child's Play and creating the most notorious doll in history. Thank you so much. And Clive Barker for being the creepiest motherfucker out there. Thank you so much for all the amazing, scary, nightmarish, ghoulish shit. And then for movie recommendations, if you're looking to find some amazing horror movies, The Perfection is perfection. It is about a young violinist is going through a treacherous training, and then things get a little too competitive. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, one of the best out there. Probably one of my favorite Nightmare on Elm Streets. Definitely check that out. And then last but not least, Sleepaway Camp 2, because it is American movie cinema. That is probably the best movie ever made to date.
The biggest surprise of my week was watching an old movie called The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which I did not know it was going to be a musical. Probably, maybe one of the most famous, because when I heard the theme song, I was like, what? That's where this is from? Really cute, but really fucking sad musical. Set in like France. I watched a lot of Dario Argento lately, and I finally watched The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and that was really, really, really fun. People that love cats, beware. I'm happy to announce another lost animated film, this time from Hungary, called The Son of the White Mare. It is free on Canopy. I'm gonna rep Canopy real quick for this. If you have a library card, you input your information and you can watch 15 free movies a month. So check out Canopy if you don't want to pay for a ton of like subscriptions like Criterion, Hulu, and Netflix, because they got a lot of stuff there.
I've been watching a show called Legendary with IZZY and a friend of ours who you'll be meeting soon. As a cishet person, I don't know shit, so I'm gonna get all the terminology wrong, but it's a ballroom dancing competition where groups of like 4 to 5 people will get like a prompt, and then they have to do a full theme, full costume, full choreographed dance with their own mix of music and everything, and it's fucking wild. And I'm like 4 episodes in, and I'm like, oh, there's a new episode out. I gotta go talk to him so we can watch the new episode. Watch Castlevania. Specifically, the like final big fights in season 2 and season 4 are some of the best animated fights I have ever seen. There's some problems with dialogue in a couple seasons, but just keep on going. It gets good. It gets better. It gets better than it ever was. It's fantastic. Wonderful animation. Easily, without question, the best video game adaptation ever.
I saw A Quiet Place Part 2, and boy, can that man Jim from The Office make a good movie. And it wasn't a fluke the first time. The second one, I think, built upon the world, and the filmmaking was even better than before. In the first one, it's kind of, watching them keep it together in this like semi-controlled environment and how dangerous that was. Now being forced to go out into the world and how fucked even more it is. I thought it was spectacular. I usually have a disdain for kids in movies, but these kids I thought were, for the most part, pretty independent and smart, rational thinkers. One more than the other. It's doing so great in the box office. There's going to be a third one, and I can't wait for it because one small complaint, it does have this very abrupt ending. Still satisfying, but it felt like there could have been an extra 30 minutes onto it.
Nick is dying.
Still
right
fantastic. A Quiet Place Part 2. Loved it. And if you got through this whole thing, I just want to say you passed our psychological test. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Izzy. Thank you, Nick, for this great conversational induced recommendation. And thank you not to Eddie because he's not here. That's son of a fucking bitch. But we'll see him and you real soon.
Nice.
It added a new coat of paint to make this unique, like the racing sound effects that are just, man, where do you live? Nick, are you just like on whatever street